Imagine standing in the middle of a storm, the wind howling, the rain pounding against your skin. Everything around you is in chaos, yet inside, you remain unshaken. This is the essence of Stoicism, not the absence of struggle, but the ability to remain calm, focused, and in control no matter what happens. The ancient Stoics, like Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, and Epictetus, lived in times of war, betrayal, and uncertainty, yet they mastered the art of inner peace. Their wisdom isn't just for philosophers in togas, it's for anyone navigating the unpredictability of life. The world today is loud, filled with distractions, outrage, and anxiety. But you don't have to be a victim of it. You can train your mind to be unshakable, to face difficulties with clarity and strength. You can build an inner fortress that no external event can break. This is what Stoicism offers, not just abstract theories, but practical tools to keep calm and stay in control. And the best part? You don't need years of study to apply these lessons. They're simple, powerful, and life-changing if you commit to them. The first lesson is to master your perception. Everything you experience is filtered through your mind. Two people can go through the same event and interpret it in completely different ways. One sees a disaster, the other sees an opportunity. The Stoics understood that we suffer not because of events themselves, but because of how we perceive them. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it." Think about that. How many times have you been upset, not because of what actually happened, but because of the story you told yourself about it? Someone doesn't text you back, and you assume the worst. You fail at something, and you tell yourself you're not good enough. But what if you changed the narrative? What if instead of seeing obstacles, you saw challenges to grow? Instead of seeing criticism, you saw a chance to improve. The way you frame your experiences determines your reality. Train yourself to see things clearly, without exaggeration or unnecessary negativity. This shift alone can bring incredible peace. The second lesson is to control what you can and let go of what you can't. One of the biggest sources of stress is trying to control things that are beyond our reach. Traffic, the economy, other people's opinions. None of these are fully within our control, yet we waste so much energy worrying about them. Epictetus, a former slave who became one of the greatest Stoic teachers, said, "Some things are up to us, and some things are not." The key is to focus only on what you can change: your thoughts, your actions, your response to events. Everything else, let it go. This isn't about being passive, it's about being strategic. When you free yourself from the illusion of control, you gain real power, the power to direct your energy toward things that actually matter. The third lesson is to practice voluntary discomfort. The Stoics believed that comfort can make us weak, while occasional hardship makes us strong. Seneca, a wealthy Roman senator, would sleep on the floor and wear simple clothing to remind himself that he could endure hardship if needed. Why? Because if you train yourself to handle discomfort, you won't be afraid of it. Imagine if you were completely unbothered by hunger, cold, or rejection. How much freer would you be? You wouldn't make decisions out of fear or desperation. You'd be able to handle anything life throws at you, try it. Skip a meal, take a cold shower, spend a day without your phone. These small acts build resilience, making you tougher and less dependent on external comforts. The fourth lesson is to remember that you will die. This might sound dark, but the Stoics saw it as a way to truly appreciate life. Memento mori, remember you will die, was a phrase they lived by. It wasn't meant to cause fear, but to bring clarity. When you remember that your time is limited, you stop wasting it on things that don't matter. You stop holding grudges, delaying your dreams, or worrying about trivial things. Marcus Aurelius constantly reminded himself that he was just a small part of the vast universe, here for a brief moment. Instead of making him feel hopeless, this gave him purpose. He knew that every day was a gift, and he used it wisely. If today were your last day, would you spend it arguing on the internet? Would you waste it worrying about things beyond your control? Probably not. You'd focus on what truly matters, living with integrity, being present with loved ones, and making a real impact. The fifth lesson is to keep your emotions in check. This doesn't mean suppressing them, it means not letting them control you. The Stoics understood that emotions like anger, fear, and jealousy can cloud judgment and lead to bad decisions. Seneca wrote, "The greatest remedy for anger is delay." When something upsets you, pause. Don't react immediately. Take a deep breath. Give yourself time to think. Often what seems like a big deal in the moment turns out to be insignificant later. Imagine how much conflict could be avoided if people simply waited before reacting. The sixth lesson is to embrace discomfort and challenges as opportunities for growth. Marcus Aurelius believed that obstacles were not just things to be overcome, but essential parts of the journey. He wrote, "What stands in the way becomes the way." This means that every difficulty is an opportunity to strengthen yourself. Instead of seeing problems as setbacks, see them as training. If something is hard, it's teaching you resilience. If someone is difficult, they're teaching you patience. Everything is a lesson if you choose to see it that way. The seventh lesson is to practice gratitude, even in adversity. The Stoics believed that no matter how bad things seemed, there was always something to be grateful for. They trained themselves to focus on what they had rather than what they lacked. This shift in perspective is powerful. Gratitude isn't just about feeling good, it's about seeing reality clearly. No matter what happens, you always have something to appreciate. Your breath, your mind, the ability to learn and grow. These are gifts. Focus on them, and your problems will seem smaller. The eighth lesson is to live according to your values, not external validation. In a world obsessed with likes, status, and approval, it's easy to lose yourself. But the Stoics believed that real happiness comes from living in alignment with your principles. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself daily not to be swayed by the opinions of others. He focused on being just, disciplined, and wise, regardless of what people thought. This kind of inner integrity gives you true freedom. The ninth lesson is to prepare for the worst, but hope for the best. The Stoics practiced premeditatio malorum, imagining the worst-case scenario, not to be negative, but to be prepared. If you consider what could go wrong in advance, you won't be caught off guard. You'll have a plan. But at the same time, they didn't dwell on negativity. They faced reality with optimism and readiness. The 10th lesson is to take action. Stoicism isn't just about thinking, it's about doing. All the wisdom in the world is useless if you don't apply it. Marcus Aurelius constantly reminded himself to get to work. You don't have to be perfect, just take the next step. When you take action, you prove to yourself that you have control over your life. You build momentum, and momentum creates confidence. Many people wait for the perfect moment to start. But the truth is, the perfect moment never comes. The Stoics understood that hesitation is the enemy of progress. The longer you wait, the harder it becomes to move forward. Instead of overthinking, they focused on doing. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be one." In other words, don't just talk about your principles, live them. This mindset applies to everything in life. Want to be disciplined? Start now, even in a small way. Want to be calm under pressure? Practice staying composed in minor situations so that when real challenges arise, you're prepared. Change doesn't happen overnight, but every action you take reinforces the person you're becoming. Even when you fail, you're still learning. The only true failure is inaction. Stoicism teaches that external events don't determine your happiness. Your response to them does. This idea is freeing because it means you're never truly powerless. No matter what happens, you always have a choice. You can complain, or you can adapt. You can panic, or you can strategize. You can let life control you, or you can take control of yourself. And when you take control of yourself, life becomes much easier to navigate. The modern world is full of distractions designed to steal your focus. Social media, news, endless notifications. These things pull your attention in 1,000 directions, making it hard to think clearly. But the Stoics practiced deep focus and presence. They didn't allow themselves to be mentally scattered. Marcus Aurelius would write in his journal as a way to center his thoughts, reminding himself of what truly mattered. Seneca advised taking time each evening to reflect on the day. What went well? What could be improved? This kind of reflection isn't just helpful, it's essential for staying grounded. If you let the outside world dictate your mood, you'll always be at its mercy. But if you train yourself to remain focused, you become unshakable. The Stoics weren't against pleasure or enjoyment. They simply didn't let those things control them. They valued discipline, not as a burden, but as a path to true freedom. Because when you master yourself, nothing can master you. Most people avoid discomfort at all costs, but the Stoics embraced it. They knew that avoiding hard things only makes life harder in the long run. If you never challenge yourself, you become fragile. But if you seek out small challenges, physical, mental, emotional, you build resilience. This is why athletes train with weights heavier than they need to lift, why public speakers rehearse in front of tough audiences, why soldiers go through grueling training. They intentionally expose themselves to difficulty so that when real challenges arise, they're ready. You don't have to be a soldier or an athlete to apply this. Start by choosing discomfort in small ways. Wake up early when you don't feel like it. Push yourself to finish tasks, even when motivation fades. Have difficult conversations instead of avoiding them. Each time you do this, you're training yourself to be stronger. And when bigger challenges come, you won't be overwhelmed. You'll be prepared. Another key Stoic idea is to avoid wasting time on things that don't matter. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself daily that life is short, and that most of what people obsess over is meaningless. Arguments, gossip, status, material possessions, none of these bring real fulfillment. The more you simplify your life and focus on what truly matters, the more peace you'll have. Think about the things that drain your energy. How much time do you spend worrying about what others think? How much time do you waste on distractions that don't add value? If you cut out what's unnecessary, you'll free up time and mental space for what truly matters: your growth, your relationships, your purpose. Seneca wrote, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." Most of our fears never actually happen. We play worst-case scenarios in our minds, stressing about things that may never come true. But the Stoics understood that fear is often just a trick of the mind. Instead of running from it, they faced it head-on. They visualized challenges in advance, not to dwell on them, but to prepare. And when difficulties came, they weren't paralyzed by fear. They had already trained for it. If you're afraid of failure, rejection, or uncertainty, ask yourself, what's the worst that could happen? Often the reality isn't as bad as your mind makes it seem, and even if the worst does happen, you'll survive, you'll adapt, you'll grow. Fear loses its power when you confront it. Stoicism isn't about suppressing emotions. It's about understanding them. Anger, fear, sadness, all of these are natural, but they don't have to control you. The Stoics believed in observing emotions without being ruled by them. Instead of reacting impulsively, they took a step back and asked, is this emotion helping or harming me? If an emotion wasn't useful, they let it go. This is a powerful skill. Imagine if, instead of being consumed by anger, you could pause and choose a calm response. Imagine if, instead of drowning in fear, you could acknowledge it and move forward anyway. Mastering your emotions doesn't mean ignoring them. It means using them wisely. Stoicism also teaches that true happiness doesn't come from external things, money, success, recognition. These can be nice, but they don't guarantee peace of mind. If your happiness depends on things outside your control, you'll always be vulnerable. But if you find contentment within yourself, nothing can take it away. Marcus Aurelius had immense power, yet he constantly reminded himself that material success was fleeting. Seneca was one of the richest men in Rome, yet he practiced living with less to ensure he never became attached to wealth. Epictetus was born into slavery, yet he found freedom through his mindset. Their message is clear. Happiness isn't about what you have, but how you think. In today's world, it's easy to compare yourself to others. Social media makes it seem like everyone else is happier, more successful, more fulfilled. But the Stoics remind us that comparison is a trap. You don't need to prove anything to anyone. The only person you need to compete with is who you were yesterday. Each day is an opportunity to be a little stronger, a little wiser, a little more in control. Some days will be harder than others, but that's part of the process. The Stoics didn't aim for perfection, they aimed for progress. And as long as you keep moving forward, you're winning. Growth isn't about achieving some final perfect state. It's about continuous improvement. The Stoics didn't believe in waiting until they felt ready. They knew that action creates readiness. If you wait until everything is perfect, you'll never start. The best way to grow is to begin where you are, with what you have. Every small step forward strengthens your mind, making you more capable of handling challenges. Think about the obstacles in your life. Maybe you're facing uncertainty in your career, struggles in your relationships, or inner doubts about your potential. Instead of seeing these as reasons to stop, view them as opportunities to grow. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." This means that every difficulty is a chance to develop strength. If something is hard, it's teaching you something valuable. Instead of seeing problems as setbacks, try reframing them as lessons. Struggling at work? It's a chance to develop patience and resilience. Facing criticism? It's an opportunity to practice humility and improve. Feeling uncertain? It's a reminder to focus on what you can control instead of what you can't. This mindset shift changes everything. Most people run from discomfort. The Stoics moved toward it. They understood that struggle isn't something to fear, it's something to use. When you embrace difficulty, you become unbreakable. You stop being thrown off by every inconvenience, every unexpected event, every challenge that comes your way. Instead, you adapt, you adjust, you keep moving forward. One of the most powerful Stoic habits is the practice of voluntary hardship. Seneca, one of Rome's wealthiest men, would sometimes live as if he had nothing. He'd sleep on the floor, wear simple clothes, and eat the most basic food. Not because he had to, but because he wanted to remind himself that he didn't need luxury to be happy. This practice strengthened his mind. It made him fearless. If he ever lost his wealth, he knew he'd be fine, because he had already prepared for it. You can apply this in small ways. Take cold showers to train yourself to handle discomfort. Skip a meal and realize that hunger isn't as bad as it seems. Walk instead of driving, to remind yourself that convenience isn't a necessity. These practices might seem small, but they build mental toughness. When life throws unexpected difficulties your way, you won't panic, you'll be ready. The Stoics also believed in training the mind to focus on what truly matters. They knew that most of what people worry about is meaningless in the grand scheme of things. Think about it. How many times have you stressed over something that, months later, turned out to be insignificant? How many arguments, disappointments, or worries have seemed huge in the moment, only to fade away with time? This is why perspective is so important. Next time you feel overwhelmed, ask yourself, will this matter a year from now? 5 years from now? If the answer is no, let it go. Save your energy for what truly matters, your growth, your relationships, your character. Don't waste it on petty concerns or fleeting frustrations. Another key Stoic principle is the power of self-discipline. In a world that constantly pushes you to seek pleasure and avoid discomfort, discipline is what separates those who succeed from those who don't. The ability to do what needs to be done, even when you don't feel like it, is one of the most valuable skills you can develop. The Stoics trained themselves to act according to reason, not impulse. They didn't let emotions dictate their actions. Instead of waiting for motivation, they relied on discipline. This is why Marcus Aurelius would wake up early, even when he didn't feel like it. Why Epictetus, despite being born into slavery, educated himself and became one of the greatest philosophers in history. Why Seneca, despite immense wealth and power, practiced self-restraint. If you want to build discipline, start by making small promises to yourself and keeping them. Wake up at the time you said you would. Follow through on the commitments you make. Do the hard thing, even when it's inconvenient. Each time you do this, you strengthen your willpower. And over time, discipline becomes second nature. One of the most liberating ideas in Stoicism is the concept of amor fati, loving your fate. This means not just accepting what happens, but embracing it fully. Most people resist reality. They get frustrated when things don't go their way. They wish life were different. But the Stoics understood that fighting reality is a waste of energy. Instead, they trained themselves to work with life, not against it. If something happens that you can't change, complaining won't fix it. Wishing it were different won't help. The only thing that matters is how you respond. Do you let it break you, or do you use it to grow? Do you dwell on what you've lost, or do you focus on what you can do next? When you adopt this mindset, nothing can truly defeat you. This is why Stoicism remains so powerful today. The world is unpredictable. Things won't always go as planned. People will disappoint you. Challenges will arise. But you don't have to be controlled by these things. You don't have to let external events dictate your inner state. You can train yourself to remain steady, no matter what happens. And when you do, you become someone who is truly unshakable. When you become unshakable, life no longer controls you. You control yourself. Imagine going through your day without being thrown off by unexpected events, without being ruled by emotions, without letting frustration, anxiety, or fear dictate your choices. This is the power of Stoicism. It teaches you to stand firm, no matter what comes your way. But achieving this level of mental strength doesn't happen overnight. It's something you build moment by moment through your actions, your thoughts, and your mindset. Every challenge is a chance to train yourself. Every moment of discomfort is an opportunity to grow. And every time you practice these principles, you become stronger. Think about the last time you felt overwhelmed. Maybe you had a problem at work, an argument with someone, or a day where nothing seemed to go right. In those moments, most people react instinctively. They get angry, frustrated, or anxious. But what if instead of reacting, you paused? What if you took a deep breath and reminded yourself, this moment is a test. How I respond will determine whether I grow or stay the same. Marcus Aurelius constantly reminded himself that every day would bring challenges. He wrote, "When you wake up in the morning, tell yourself, the people I deal with today will be meddling, ungrateful, arrogant, dishonest, jealous, and surly." He didn't expect the world to be perfect. He prepared for reality. And because of that, he wasn't caught off guard when difficulties arose. He was ready. This is a mindset you can develop. Instead of expecting life to be easy, expect it to be challenging. Instead of hoping for smooth days, prepare for obstacles. And instead of being frustrated when things go wrong, see it as training. When you expect difficulty, you stop being surprised by it. You stop taking things personally, and you start handling challenges with calm and confidence. One of the biggest traps people fall into is the illusion of control. They stress over things they can't change. They waste energy trying to control other people's opinions, outcomes, or external events. But the Stoics understood that the only thing truly in your control is your own mind. You can't control what happens to you, but you can control how you respond. Think about all the things you've worried about in the past. How many of them were completely out of your hands? Maybe you stressed over what someone thought of you. Maybe you worried about the future, about things that hadn't even happened yet. The Stoics remind us that this kind of thinking is wasted energy. Epictetus said, "Some things are up to us, and some things are not." The key is knowing the difference. If something is outside your control, let it go. If it's within your control, take action. This simple mindset shift can change your life. It frees you from unnecessary stress. It allows you to focus only on what truly matters. And it helps you move through life with a sense of peace, instead of constantly feeling anxious or frustrated. Another way the Stoics trained their minds was by practicing negative visualization. This might sound strange at first. Why would anyone want to imagine worst-case scenarios? But this practice isn't about dwelling on fear. It's about preparing yourself so that nothing catches you off guard. Seneca advised, "Set aside a certain number of days, during which you shall be content with the scantiest and cheapest fare, with coarse and rough dress, saying to yourself all the while, 'Is this the condition that I feared?'" The idea is simple. If you prepare for the worst, you become fearless. If you've already imagined losing something, you won't be devastated if it happens. if you've trained yourself to handle discomfort, you won't panic when life gets difficult. You can practice this in small ways. Imagine losing something valuable, not because you want it to happen, but because it reminds you to appreciate what you have. Picture a difficult situation so that if it ever occurs, you'll be mentally ready. By doing this, you stop taking things for granted. You stop living in fear, and you start facing life with strength. But Stoicism isn't just about enduring hardships. It's also about living with purpose. The Stoics didn't just want to survive, they wanted to thrive. They believed that life should be lived with intention, with meaning, with a clear sense of direction. Most people drift through life, reacting to whatever happens, letting circumstances dictate their path. But the Stoics believed in taking control of their own destiny. They asked themselves, what kind of person do I want to be? What values do I want to live by? What impact do I want to leave on the world? Marcus Aurelius constantly reminded himself of his duty. He saw every day as an opportunity to live with virtue. He didn't waste time on meaningless distractions. He didn't seek validation or approval. He focused only on what truly mattered, becoming the best version of himself. This is something you can apply to your own life. Take a moment to ask yourself, am I living according to my values? Am I spending my time on what truly matters? Am I becoming the person I want to be? If not, what needs to change? The sooner you start living with purpose, the more meaningful your life becomes. Another key lesson from Stoicism is the idea of memento mori, remembering that you will die. This might sound dark, but it's actually one of the most powerful ideas for living a fulfilling life. When you remember that your time is limited, you stop wasting it. You stop procrastinating. You stop putting off the things that truly matter. Seneca wrote, "You are afraid of dying. But come now, how is this life of yours anything but death?" He meant that most people aren't truly living. They're just existing, going through the motions, waiting for the right time to pursue their dreams, waiting for the right moment to start living fully. But the truth is, the right time will never come. The time is now. If you knew you only had a year left to live, how would you spend it? Would you waste time on petty arguments, meaningless distractions, or things that don't bring you joy? Or would you focus on what truly matters, on growth, on love, on making an impact? When you live with this awareness, you stop letting small things bother you. You stop delaying what's important, and you start making the most of every single day. The Stoics understood that happiness doesn't come from external things. It comes from within. Most people chase success, wealth, or recognition, thinking that these things will bring fulfillment. But the Stoics saw through this illusion. They knew that real happiness comes from living with virtue, from mastering your mind, from focusing on what you can control. When you stop seeking happiness in external things, you become truly free. You stop being controlled by circumstances. You stop depending on others for validation. You realize that everything you need is already within you. This is why Stoicism is so powerful. It gives you the tools to build an unshakable mind, to live with purpose, and to find peace in any situation. When you stop looking for happiness in things outside yourself, you begin to understand true freedom. Most people spend their entire lives chasing something, more money, more success, more approval, believing that once they get it, they'll finally feel complete. But this is an illusion. The Stoics saw it clearly. They understood that no amount of external success could ever bring lasting peace because the mind is always looking for the next thing. It's always moving the goalpost. Think about it. How many times have you told yourself, "I'll be happy when I get that promotion," or "I'll be satisfied when I achieve this goal"? And then you reach that milestone, and what happens? The satisfaction fades. You set a new goal. You start chasing again. It's an endless cycle. But the Stoics discovered a different way, a way to find peace, not by achieving more, but by shifting your mindset. Seneca said, "He is a great man who uses earthenware dishes as if they were silver, but he is equally great who uses silver as if it were earthenware." What does this mean? It means that true contentment doesn't come from what you have, but from how you think about what you have. If you can learn to appreciate what's in front of you, instead of always longing for more, you unlock a level of freedom most people never experience. This doesn't mean you should stop striving for success. The Stoics were not against ambition. In fact, they encouraged people to pursue excellence in whatever they did. But they believed that external success should never control your inner state. You should aim high, work hard, and achieve great things, but never let your happiness depend on those achievements. Because if your peace depends on something outside yourself, you will always be at its mercy. This is why the Stoics emphasized the importance of self-discipline. They knew that without it, you become a slave to your desires, to your impulses, to whatever emotions happen to arise in the moment. And when that happens, you are no longer in control of yourself. Your emotions control you. Marcus Aurelius trained himself to remain steady no matter what was happening around him. He wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." This is the key. It's not about trying to control everything around you. It's about mastering yourself so that no matter what happens, you remain calm, focused, and in control. One of the best ways to develop this inner strength is through voluntary discomfort. Most people go out of their way to avoid discomfort. They want to be comfortable at all times. But the Stoics did the opposite. They trained themselves to endure hardship so that when real challenges came, they were ready. Seneca advised people to occasionally live as if they had lost everything, to eat simple food, to wear simple clothes, to sleep on the floor. Not because suffering is good in itself, but because it builds resilience. It teaches you that you can handle far more than you think. And once you know that, you stop fearing hardship. Try it yourself. Take cold showers. Skip a meal. Spend a day without technology. Walk instead of driving. These small acts of discomfort strengthen your mind. They remind you that you are not dependent on luxury, that you can adapt, that you can endure. And this knowledge is incredibly powerful because it frees you from fear. Fear is what keeps most people stuck. Fear of failure, fear of discomfort, fear of what others might think. But the Stoics understood that fear only has power over you if you let it. When you confront it head-on, when you expose yourself to it deliberately, it loses its grip on you. You realize that most of the things you were afraid of were never as bad as you imagined. And this brings us to one of the most powerful Stoic principles, amor fati, the love of fate. This idea is more than just accepting what happens to you. It's about embracing it fully, seeing every event, good or bad, as an opportunity for growth. Imagine two people facing the same setback. One sees it as a disaster, complains, and feels defeated. The other sees it as a lesson, an opportunity to become stronger. The event is the same, but the mindset is different, and that mindset determines everything. Epictetus said, Do not seek for things to happen the way you want them to. Rather, wish for them to happen as they do happen, and your life will go smoothly. This doesn't mean you stop having goals or dreams. It means that when things don't go your way, you don't waste energy resisting reality. You adapt. You find the lesson. You move forward with strength instead of frustration. This mindset is life-changing. It means that no matter what happens, you never feel like a victim. You never feel like life is unfair. Because you understand that every challenge is shaping you. Every setback is making you stronger. Every difficulty is training you for something greater. And this brings us to the ultimate lesson of Stoicism, the importance of virtue. The Stoics believed that the goal of life wasn't pleasure, wasn't success, wasn't status. It was virtue, becoming the best version of yourself, living with wisdom, courage, justice, and self-discipline. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one." This is the essence of Stoicism. It's not about endless discussions, theories, or philosophies. It's about action. It's about living these principles every single day. Ask yourself, are you becoming wiser? Are you becoming stronger? Are you acting with integrity, even when no one is watching? Are you making choices based on your values, rather than your impulses? This is what truly matters. Most people spend their lives chasing things that don't last. Money, status, approval. But in the end, none of that matters. What matters is the kind of person you became, the impact you had on the world, the strength you cultivated within yourself. And this is why Stoicism is so powerful. It's not just a philosophy, it's a way of life. A way to find peace in chaos, strength in adversity, and meaning in everything you do. It's the key to becoming unshakable, to living with purpose, and to facing whatever comes your way with absolute confidence. This is what separates those who merely exist from those who truly live. The ability to remain steady in the face of adversity, to find strength in challenges, to cultivate an unshakable mind. These are the traits of a person who has mastered themselves. And self-mastery is the foundation of a meaningful life. But here's the reality. Most people never reach this level of control. They let their emotions dictate their actions. They react impulsively to every inconvenience. They allow external circumstances to determine their inner state. And as a result, they live in constant frustration, anxiety, and stress. The Stoics saw this trap and developed a way out. A way to break free from emotional turbulence and reclaim control over one's mind. It starts with awareness. You must become aware of your own reactions, your own thoughts, your own habits. Most people go through life on autopilot, never questioning why they feel the way they do, never realizing that their emotions are not facts, that their impulses do not have to control them. Take a moment to reflect. When something unexpected happens, how do you respond? Do you instantly react with frustration, with anger, with fear? Or do you pause, observe, and choose your response consciously? The difference between these two approaches is the difference between chaos and clarity, between weakness and strength. Marcus Aurelius constantly reminded himself that the world would throw challenges his way. He wrote, "You will meet people who are selfish, ungrateful, dishonest, jealous. Do not be surprised by this." Think about how powerful this mindset is. Most people get upset when they encounter difficult individuals, as if they expected the world to be free of them. But Marcus prepared himself. He expected difficulty, so he wasn't thrown off when it appeared. He remained calm because he understood that frustration comes from unrealistic expectations. You cannot control other people. You cannot control their behavior, their opinions, their actions, but you can control your response. You can control whether you let them affect your peace of mind. And when you master this, you become untouchable. The same applies to unexpected events. Life is unpredictable. No matter how much you plan, things will not always go your way. You will face setbacks, obstacles, delays. But instead of resisting reality, instead of complaining or feeling defeated, the Stoic approach is to accept and adapt. Epictetus said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." This is one of the most powerful lessons in all of Stoicism. It means that no event, no circumstance, no challenge has the power to defeat you, unless you allow it to. Imagine two people facing the same hardship. One falls into self-pity, blames others, and gives up. The other sees it as an opportunity to learn, to grow, to become stronger. The difference is not in the situation, it's in the mindset. And this is why Stoicism is more than just a philosophy. It's a practice. It's something you apply every single day. When you get stuck in traffic, do you let frustration take over, or do you use that time to practice patience? When someone criticizes you, do you react defensively, or do you remain calm and consider whether there is a lesson to learn? When things don't go as planned, do you complain, or do you adapt? Every situation, no matter how small, is an opportunity to strengthen your character. And this is where most people fail. They believe that mental toughness is something you either have or you don't. But the truth is, it's something you build through practice, through discipline, through conscious effort. Seneca believed that every day was a training ground for the mind. He wrote, "Difficulties strengthen the mind, as labor does the body." Just as you train your body to become stronger, you must train your mind. And the only way to do that is by facing challenges instead of avoiding them. Too many people seek comfort above all else. They want an easy life, free from struggle, free from hardship. But the Stoics understood that this mindset is a trap. Comfort makes you weak. Avoiding difficulty makes you fragile. True strength is built in adversity. That's why one of the core Stoic practices is voluntary hardship. It's the idea that if you deliberately expose yourself to small difficulties, you become better equipped to handle larger ones. Seneca recommended occasionally living as if you had lost everything, eating simple food, sleeping on the floor, wearing plain clothes. Not because suffering itself is good, but because it teaches you that you can endure, that you are stronger than you think. Try it. Go a day without your usual comforts. Take a cold shower. Skip a meal. Walk instead of taking transportation, not because you have to, but because it builds resilience. And when real difficulties come, you won't panic. You won't feel helpless, because you've already trained for it. This is what separates those who crumble under pressure from those who rise above it. Most people let their circumstances control them, but those who follow Stoic principles learn to control themselves. They learn to remain steady in any situation. They learn that no challenge is too great, no setback is too devastating, because their strength comes from within. And this is the ultimate freedom: to live without fear, to navigate life's uncertainties with confidence, to remain calm when others panic, focused when others are distracted, disciplined when others are reckless. This is the power of Stoicism, and it's available to anyone willing to embrace it. And this is what sets you apart. The ability to face life's challenges with resilience, to remain calm when the world is in chaos, to find strength in adversity. These are the traits that define true mastery over oneself. And the best part? This power is already within you. You don't need anything external to develop it. You don't need luck, wealth, or special circumstances. You just need the right mindset, the right discipline, and the commitment to apply these principles every day. So as you go forward, remember this: every moment is an opportunity to grow stronger. Every setback is a chance to prove to yourself that you can endure. Every challenge is fuel for your development. The more you embrace this, the more unshakable you become. Now, if you found this valuable, if you feel inspired to apply these lessons in your own life, then don't stop here. There's so much more to learn, so much more to explore. Make sure to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you never miss out on new content designed to help you grow, think deeper, and master yourself. And if this message resonated with you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. The more people who adopt this mindset, the better the world becomes. Thank you for watching, and remember, the greatest power you will ever have is the power over your own mind. Stay strong, stay focused, and I'll see you in the next video.